Cancer as the rising sign. And we can see Jupiter and Venus here conjoined in Cancer in the 15th degree of Cancer, which is the exaltation degree of Jupiter. Jupiter is exalted in Cancer, but it is also said to be exalted specifically in the 15th degree of Cancer. So 14 degrees and any number of minutes of that, it qualifies as the 15th degree. So we see Jupiter and Venus conjoined here in Cancer. The first sign we're going to go through is Cancer as the rising sign. I know a lot of people start out at Aries when they do these. I'm starting out at Cancer, not just because Jupiter and Venus are in Cancer, but also Cancer is actually the rising sign for the Thema Mundi, which is the theoretical birth chart of the world. And so since the Cancer is the rising sign there, I'd like to start with Cancer as the rising sign in these delineations. So Jupiter represents expansion, abundance. Jupiter is the teacher, the sage. The greater benefic is one of the names of Jupiter. Venus represents aesthetic, beauty, passion, things that are feminine, and Jupiter has more of a, what we might think of as a yang quality, whereas Venus has more of a yin quality. In actuality, Venus moves between yin and yang, whether she's in a morning star phase or an evening star phase, but in the general kind of universal archetypal significations of Venus, we think of her as a yin. But because she does move through this, it's worthy to note right now, as the morning star, she is in her most masculine phase, and there were actual stories and there's statues of the bearded Venus. So we think of Venus in the morning star phase as almost a non-binary gender kind of expression, and this is the bearded Venus, the masculine phase of Venus. So we have this masculine phase of Venus, this a non-binary masculinized mask kind of quality of Venus being in a conjunction with Jupiter, the planet of abundance, in Cancer. And some of the qualities of Cancer are, we think of home, cozy, but because Cancer is a water sign and it is the rising sign of the Thema Mundi, it also represents the expression of life bursting into being. This is like when we think of the flood of the Nile in Egypt and the life that brought into the world, this is what Cancer brings. This flooding of abundance, of life, of these kind of gardens that are just filled with all kinds of vines and flowers, and they look wild, but actually they're very well tended. This is the kind of life that we think of with Cancer rising. And so with Jupiter and Venus here, we're thinking about refined aesthetic, passionate beauty, abundantly oozing out through the pores of our life and our expression. And it's just, we can think of this really rich, just juicy expression of abundance and passion. So that's kind of the general overall archetype of the three, Venus, Jupiter, and Cancer. And so now as we step through the rising signs, putting that into the first house, we think of how this might come out in a person's physical well-being, persona, how they express themselves. This could be the positive results of a plastic surgery. We could think of this being a great photo shoot for somebody's business headshots or something. We could think of this coming into play as just landing the right outfit to wear out on the town, going out to the clubs or something. So this is just anything that's dealing with our front persona is fair game to be expressed through this, but also anything that deals with the deeper part of who we feel we are in our being, our identity, who we want to be, who we aspire to be, and who we just really kind of sit with, how we are. And this can be a time when our own identity feels the most gelled, like the most who we are.